Hi Leo, here is a general look at your solar chart for December 2015 and January 2016. But before I go there, I just want to share some astro thoughts with you. Now that last month I was mentioning the Saturn-Neptune transit, how it's affecting us over November, December, and also popping up again at times in 2016. I also mentioned the Uranus Pluto transit, and I just want to say something else about that now. These two, of course, are behind the general change, meltdown in some cases, huge radical change going on across the globe, culturally, economically, socially, to do with belief systems as well, especially now that Saturn has come into Sagittarius. I'll be saying more about that in the stars for 2016, which are coming out very shortly now. I just want to mention in the first half of December we have Mars in challenging aspect to Uranus Pluto. Mars can be a little bit of a trigger for these two, and tensions that are pushed down beneath the surface inherent in the Uranus Pluto aspect will emerge, will get pushed up, like tectonic plates kind of buckling and crunching against each other, and then explosions of sort of like, the tension or the volcanic eruptions, and of course it's for a fleeting time. It's just over the first half of December. Every time Mars comes around into a cardinal sign, the same thing's going to happen. Has done in 2015, will do in 2016, and of course in 2014 and 2017, because the Uranus-Pluto transit, even though it's no longer exact, is going to rumble on for a few more years, and we will see the effects globally of this. And those of us who have been on the planet a long time can really see the distinct and marked changes going on, and just how things are run, and not only that, but how the general tone of the way humans are one with one another, coming more from the mental side, the intellectual side, and far less from the heart side, because of course through the internet and through texting and blogging, and we are using our left brain a huge amount more than just meeting people down the pub. So anyway, that's a whole other subject. I just want to mention Mars coming onto here, triggering these two, might be minor in your life, but I'm just looking at the global sort of situation here. The tension build up could, is always looking like a pressure cooker for a way of release. So this could bring out the harsher side, the manipulative, controlling, unscrupulous side, particularly when Mars and Pluto get together. There's usually sort of underhand dealings going on. Or if it doesn't feel like that, then it can just feel like that one has got one's arm twisted up behind one's back because of some kind of emotional blackmail. Now, of course, we can bring these things on ourselves as well, feeling conscientious and obliged, etc. But just want you to be aware of that. So going back to the worldwide sort of influence of this, you can get an idea, by the way, of where these are in your natal chart, if you have it, by seeing which house they are in and then looking it up online. There's a plethora of information now online for everything to do with astrology, so just find it online. I'm going to tell you where they are in your sun sign forecast a little bit in a few minutes. So the global effects will involve, again, the banks, the governments, the financial property markets, the establishment, the status quo, and of course there's many in these sorts of positions that don't want the power base to shift, and they are in the habit of steamrolling over our universal freedoms. And of course the internet's going to come up as well, in this sort of way, as well as maybe radio and TV, because of Saturn being in the communication sign as Sagittarius. But So one side will tend to feel sort of outraged and victimized, and the other will seem, that they will not have a conscience. They will see it as their inalienable right to do these things, and will seem quite ruthless and only concerned with maintaining the control that they are used to, because they're trying to balance the books, or they just see it as they know better. And then on the flip side, energy levels can be very, very high with Mars Pluto, I have to say. So in your personal life, if you do have a mountain to climb, if you have a fight on your hands, then under this transit, much can be achieved, and you will possibly win as well, because even though Mars is in a contentious sort of angle with Pluto, it's a sort of energy that you need, which is very stubborn, and it's energy that will dig its heels in and help you. It depends on where Mars Pluto, of course, is in your chart. So for some people this will be minor, for others, and then you'll notice people around you that you know are getting it more strongly because of the degrees. It's always to do with the degrees of these things on a planet or on an important point in the chart. But you'll probably win, and but you won't be able to do that without modifying something along the way, without maybe letting go of something and compromising along the way. And you'll have to be canny and intuitive, listen to that gut knowing, as the powers that be, or the controlling faction, whether that's, bosses, teachers, parents, or something even bigger than that, circumstances beyond your control, can feel like it's beyond your ability to do anything about. But this is a great aspect for getting to the bottom of things, digging out the rot, and doing that in whatever way necessary, and then to regenerate, starting with whatever is left to build upon, whether that's in your private life or in across the globe in a bigger sort of a way. And instead of coming from ego, a fear-based mentality, and this is a big ask, because we are in a time of opportunity to shift into a much more expanded, advanced level of consciousness, and this is our invitation. This, we're still in this in this turning point time, and before the whole thing shuts down, if we can't sort of step up to the plate in some way and do things in a more compassionate, refined, elegant sort of way, instead of just shouting and screaming and shooting at each other, then we're going to end up right back where we were before, and then we have got to wait another few thousand years for the other opportunity, the next opportunity to come round again, and that is related to the galactic center. So just thought I'd mention that. And now for the rest of the forecast. Until the 22nd, there is quite a bright, less introspective vibration around. It's can be quite creative, quite a sort of accelerated sort of pace, and there could be more socializing, or the sorts of things that you take pleasure from could be more center stage. So you could have access, or at least get the connections that give you the access to this. And there's likely to be increased communications either with or about young people, lovers or pets for some of you, or it might not be that. It can be just that there's more sort of laughs and distractions along the road. You could be speculating on things as well. And then Mercury moves out of there and moves into a more practical focus, and thoughts could revolve around repairs, maintenance, the to-do list, daily chores, health matters, that type of thing. Practical advice could be sought either by you or from you about any of these matters. And then as the month begins, Venus is in a very sociable sector of your solar chart, chiming in nicely with position of the Sun and Mercury at the beginning. A little bit of a slow start at the very beginning of the week, but soon gains momentum, and she can help you to be articulate in your self-expression, tends to deliver environments you enjoy, daily encounters which are more appealing or entertaining or even exotic, and again, you can others can admire you in some way for your communication ability or something to do with you, and then you can do better in a bargaining situation or buying, selling, promoting, negotiating, that kind of thing. And so Venus will have been there for quite a bit of November, and then Venus moves on the 5th, and for the rest of the month she is beaming a sort of a sociable light into the root of your chart. So you could be very much not in somebody else's pocket, but you and somebody else could be teaming up, maybe with so many people working as I'm doing here from home. Then you get this feeling of sort of kinship and togetherness and sharing from others in that way. Or maybe it's not like that, maybe you want to embellish your space, maybe there's some decorating going on, that sort of thing, or just really enjoying where you are. It might be like that. It might not be that, you know, so much even in your own stamping ground. Maybe you're somewhere away from that and really enjoying it, or maybe you are and maybe you're just enjoying what you have around you, family, extended family, tribe, neighborhood community. You just tend to enjoy that more, tend to be more the visitor, so it's good for property matters as well, Venus there. And given the position of Jupiter at the moment, then if it is about you know, buying, selling, renting, leasing, property matters, then you could do all right. And then Mars, I haven't mentioned Mars yet. Mars is accelerating mental processes, meaning again that, you know, you're really very much on the left side of your brain for a lot of December, because you're having to think and using that sort of logic, you know, figuring stuff out, but also maybe there's more correspondence, maybe you have to work harder with the communication side of things, or maybe it's not like that, maybe it's just more coming and going, you know, maybe you're on the road more, maybe the environment is sort of overwhelming sometimes with how much information or how much need to think that there is. It could be like that as well, but you can be proactive, productive, successful through media, promotions, negotiations, you know, consulting, whether it's you or to you, and just speaking up for yourself in a more confident, clear, assertive kind of a way. So if you've been sort of shilly-shallying around and wondering about things, Mars here is really going to help sort of chisel, you know, sort of sharpen up your thinking. And then the whole lot is going to move. Well, actually, some will immediately. Like, for instance, in January, we have the Sun moving from the 22nd of December into the area which is quite practical, day-to-day, putting effort in more into maintenance, maybe repairs, that type of thing. That will be more center stage from the point of view of Sun and Mercury. But Mercury, actually Mercury is going to move out of there at the beginning of January into an area which is to do with bouncing ideas, playing with ideas with another, again, being very much in this information exchange thing going on. But Mercury does go retrograde from the 5th to the 25th. So if you do follow astrology online, you will have an idea of what that means. And if you don't know, then you can look it up. But basically, because there's so much about astrology everywhere on the internet now, you can look it up. But basically, it's you know, things get slowed down or cancelled or postponed. And it gives you just more time to work it all out. Maybe, you know, have a rethink. But Mercury will be in this sort of sharing kind of this area where you can get a rapport, or at least you can get good information through certain others, key others. I mean, it just, it tends to be somebody that you click with, that you can get, or it might be a sort of a small series of them, because a month is a long time. And then Venus moves, and Venus is in the House of Fun. So that's from the beginning of January 2016, which actually, the sun is being quite practical and health orientated, or chore and job orientated, and to do with getting organized. But Venus is actually, sort of got a little song in her heart, and is sort of enjoying things, really. So that side of the forecast is meaning, not that you can sort of burn the candle at both ends, unless of course the sun position means you've got to pick up the pieces afterwards. But it can mean that you can party a bit more. But then Venus does move out of there on the 24th. That's nearly the end of the month. So you get Venus in this quite light-hearted, romantic, for some of you, area, child-orientated area for most of January. And then Mars will have moved out of this communications area, where accelerating mental processing from the 4th of January, and then goes into the root of your chart, again sort of speeding things up and making things more active and proactive, to do with home or property matters, or family, or neighborhood, or whatever's going on, in your locality, that sort of thing. So really kind of heating things up there. Sometimes you can feel that there's a bit of conflict, a bit of annoyance wherever Mars is, but it generally, if you keep your cool, it means that you can achieve what you want to achieve related to the area, whether it's about property, home, family, neighborhood. But it does mean, sometimes really kind of taking a breath, counting to 10, that kind of thing. Then for the rest of the planets, that's Saturn, Jupiter, and of course Uranus, Pluto, not to mention Neptune, which gets tucked away because Neptune isn't in a hugely strong angle to your sun sign, or your rising sign at the moment, but you can always find out about Neptune, which, by the way, you might like to know that Neptune is in your 8th house, Leo, so look that up. Saturn, which is actually in your 5th house, which you can also look up, is in actually a really supportive angle to your sun sign, Leo, or to maybe your rising degree if you're a Leo rising, and will be there until late 2017. And this puts her, in a sort of a supportive mood, and you have to abide by her rules. So you have to pay focused, nurturing attention to your creativity. Take responsibility more for your own creativity, your own right to have fun, to do things which are leisure maybe orientated, or hobby, or whatever, which are empowering over the long term. So that's telling you. Maybe some of you, of course, could have more interaction with children, and you'd almost have to say vicariously doing it through the children, where they, you are putting yourself behind, and the driver behind, or enabling them in some way, facilitating them. However, I would say to you, don't forget yourself. So if you can strike a nice balance, that would be good. And there will be times where you feel held away from that which you find empowering and pleasurable and enjoyable, that you find it more difficult to get into performance-related activities, or do things which are different and fun and innovative, which is one of the sneaky ways that Saturn works. So you just have to work harder at finding those things for yourself, and then you get this acknowledgement, recognition, which is very important for you Leos. And those of you born the 28th of July to the 3rd of August, or with 6 to 12 degrees rising, or in January 3rd to the 7th of August, or with 11 to 15 degrees rising, you guys are going to feel this energy the most this month. And then Jupiter is in your area of the piggy bank. I mentioned it earlier. So until September 2016, remain open to whatever resource, knowledge, experience, or personal asset that you have. It might even be yourself, what you know, what you look like, what you've got a sort of leaning towards that you need to get more skilled up in, and whatever it is, be capitalizing on that, and you will be moving mentally and physically into fresh territories, because Jupiter loves space. Jupiter loves to expand you in whichever area. And also this is the area to do with property. So some of you might be looking at that. Some of you might be looking at how to improve things with a piggy bank. And Jupiter here will help you to prioritize. It will help you to figure out, okay, what order I do this in, what is of highest value to me initially, and then just go and do it. Even if it comes out of the blue, it's like, oh, I don't usually do that. But unless, of course, it's harmful in some sort of way, do it. And then by putting yourself in that environment or that situation, Jupiter can deliver to you something that you were not expecting, which is generally positive. Jupiter is the learning through doing planet, of course, so you will be learning through doing these things. And Leo is born the 12th to the 16th of August, or with 20 to 24 degrees rising in both months. It's more or less the same. We'll be feeling that energy the most. Uranus, I mentioned earlier, is in the 9th house for you guys, so look that up. There's huge resources now on the internet for this. And Pluto's in the 6th house. Just briefly, Uranus in the 9th means that you could get intermittent or sudden or unexpected chances to travel, or to learn something which is very, very different, or to link with some sort of higher mind energy, which is, again, very, very different. Pluto in the 6th might mean that you have to deal more with health matters. You feel controlled by a health matter, and you've got to really, really get all the layers off as much as you can. You keep digging and digging and digging to get to the bottom of that. And then once you get to the root of it, then you can eradicate, or at least, lessen its effects, like a remission sort of thing. Is altogether possible because Pluto is huge, strong will, and very, 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 very powerful. And then Uranus is actually giving you these amazing sudden bright ideas that maybe you don't know where that came from, but you're going to try it anyway. And that's it for December and January. If you know your rising sign, your moon sign, listen to those. And also you can check this stuff out. It's written up on my website. Very soon there's going to be the stars for the whole of 2016 coming out, which is why I've covered January now. And also, yeah, that's it. I'll see you the next time.